You know, when Neuro and Vidal broke their own record that they had set previously beforehand and became the most sub channel on Twitch, it was wild to see the reaction. It really was. It was cool to see them break their own record, but the reaction was just something else. Because as far as I had known, they had not gotten the same amount of hate, before that. So when they started getting a bunch of hate for breaking the record, I think they just assumed that, Vidal put Neuro into ChatGPT, or it was basically, I think they assumed that Neuro was ChatGPT put into a model, which is not the case, Vidal spent hours upon hours upon hours making Neuro the way she is. So, of course, they misunderstood. People were, saying, oh, it's just some AI, and they, of course, a lot of them didn't have any context or understanding to who Neuro or Vidal was, So a lot of them were tourists who it was just going right over their head. They didn't bother worth doing any kind of, 5 minutes of Google searching, What was even funnier is that they were actually calling Vidal a furry. I was like, why? Why are you doing that, bro? I mean, just because Vidal's got a turtle, just because his avatar is a turtle, doesn't mean he's a furry. But it was goofy, them saying, oh, I'm sure Vidal's a furry because he's a turtle. I'm like, you guys need to chill, okay? But on top of that, they really seem to not like the fact that Neuro became the most sub channel on Twitch, when that news broke. They were to the point where they were even saying, oh, this is, people in general were saying, oh, this is sus. This is sus. And of course, these people are tourists, so they have no idea who Neuro or Vidal is, and they have not any research. They're just like, all they hear is just some, basically that all they hear is just some AI has become the most sub channel on Twitch. AI VTuber. And of course, their reaction is, I'm not too surprised that they reacted this way. They also tried, tagging Twitch and try to get Twitch to ban Neurosama. That's basically what they were trying to do, saying, hey, Twitch, he might be a cheater. You should look at this. Is this right? Is this allowed? Of course, obviously that didn't work, but because Vidal and Neuro hasn't done anything. Now, one of these people that were, and it attracted the attention of not only a smaller of normal tourists, and people in general, but it also attracted the attention of actually big creators. For example, Stable Ronaldo. He's got a reaction in this clip, and I'll show you, and you can take a look for yourself, and he'll basically tell you in his own words what he thinks about this.
This is AI? 170,000 subs?
Probably on par with the average person
170,000 subs and it's AI?
I think I'm feeling a bit sad, actually. I feel like I spend all my time being a little too selfish.
Is it AI powered VTuber? She can chat, sing, react to videos, and play games. Oh my god, these guys' computers. Some of these people's computers need to be checked. Their hard drives. I'm dead serious. This guy gifted over 100,000 bits to this channel, and 3,000 gifted.
So, obviously, he's a tourist, doesn't know anything about Neuro, doesn't know anything about Vidal, doesn't know that Vidal built Neuro. And what's more, he's seething real hard. Now, for him to say that an entire community needs, basically, to say that some guy needs his hard drive checked because he donated to a VTuber, because he likes VTubers. Yeah, that's goofy. That's goofy. And to accuse a whole community of that is very weird. Like, why does your mind go, why does Stable Ronaldo's mind, the first thing he goes to is, oh, they need to have their hard drives checked. It's I swear, that's just typical tourist behavior from these people. Now, beyond that tourist behavior and projection, might add, a lot of projection, beyond all that, I wonder how much, to a degree, it is also professional. They feel threatened to a degree, being by Neuro, Because I have to imagine that if your whole life is streaming and your whole revenue flow is streaming, I would have to imagine how much being threatened by an AI that has the most subs on Twitch might be. And I can see that to some degree because human beings in general are always, competing with one another for everything, whether it's resources, whether it's even just goofy things. We can still compete each other. We compete with each other over social prestige. People still do that. They always have, and I think they always will. So I'm not too surprised that Stable Ronaldo would try to almost to be fair, he's making jokes about something he has no understanding of, at their expense, making fun of them, making fun of VTuber fans and making fun of people who donated to Neuro. Why? Because they like VTubers? Like, give me a break. But, you have to think about to what degree it's being threatened professionally by this. Now, Stable Ronaldo is not the only one who had a bad take on this. The next one we have is Jinxie, in fact. And I'll show you this clip as well.
Hi, guys, put it up. The #1 sub streamer. Oh my god.
Artichokey.
Oh my god.
What did you get up to for New Year's, Camila?
The #1 sub streamer in the entire world is an artificial intelligence VTuber. So chat, you know how, like, for example, Iron Mouse is like a real person. You're saying Vidal987 is not real. What? I've never even heard of that. Dude, that is the future of streaming, bro. Dude, I'm bewildered, bro. I'm absolutely bewildered. Hey, game is game, I guess. 157,000 gifted subscribers to a artificial intelligence VTuber that non-stop 24/7 never end streams. I don't know if anyone's ever passing this. I don't know if anyone's ever passing this without a subathon. Dead ass! What? When did this happen? Did this happen this week?
Now, his reaction is not too much dissimilar to Stable Ronaldo. It is utter disbelief and being flabbergasted. Doesn't know anything, tourist, like anything else. This is the guy who fake crashed his stream so he didn't have to watch Iron Mouse's performance at the Streamer Awards. He fake crashed his stream. So I'm not too surprised that he doesn't like anything about VTubers in general, Now, of course, there's a lot of these streamers that are like iShowSpeed, Kaisenet clones that are the loud equals funny type streamers. There's a lot of them. That's a very common thing among streamers in general. I swear, when you think of streamers, you think of those types of streamers in general. And it's like the way he acts is like that they started streaming, like Neuro and Vidal started streaming like 4 weeks ago. They've been around for years. But I think what's interesting is there's jealousy to a degree, or maybe you could say envy, jealousy, that, an AI, Neuro, that an AI like Neuro got the most subs on Twitch. Because I would have to imagine, probably because she's more entertaining. That's probably the most simple thing you could really look at, is that she's simply entertaining. And I think there's going to be a lot of jealousy and a lot of, envy directed at Neuro and Vidal because of that. So I'm not entirely surprised. And it was not too long after that he had this stream that his viewers, Jinxie's viewers, hate-rated Vidal's, So I think what Jinxie was doing was putting in a negative light on Vidal, and on Neurosama. Now, I think it's really bewildering to me why viewers would why viewers would hate another streamer for success, because what? because the other streamer didn't get the same amount of success. It's like, oh, come on. It's so goofy. I think it was just such a goofy thing for those fans to do. Like, honestly, hate rating. If I remember correctly, I think Vito like put on evil. His like, I think it's like evil version of Neuro AI. There's like 2 AIs, so she's quite a character when they hate rated his stream. But I think it's just so pathetic to be like seething and feeling jealous and envy for Vito and Neuro. Like, give me a break, man. It's pathetic. Anyway, but Jinxie was not the only one, of course, who this is the second bad take, but the third one's gonna be a real interesting one. But Lacey, the next one we're gonna move on to is Lacey, and oh goodness, there's a lot to talk about in this one. Here, I'll show you the first clip, one of 2.
Like, my honest opinion on it, like, if I'm being honest, I feel like this takes away from what streaming is. No, like, it's not a real. There's no human. There's no human emotion. It's not a person. It's AI. I feel like streaming what it should be is humans interacting with their community, and this is just AI. I don't know how I feel about it. Like, is this what streaming is gonna turn into? Am I gonna open Twitch one day and it's just gonna be all AI streamers? The AI doesn't even recognize, like, I'm confused because the AI doesn't even recognize what the chat, like when I see a LOL in my chat or a W in my chat, it gives me a feeling. Like, you guys know I'm seeing that and feeding off that to continue streaming. This AI can't do that. It doesn't get a feeling when there's a W typed in the chat.
So, obviously, Lacey is the moral Puritan pillar of the Twitch streaming community, and to show you exactly the way he feels how streaming it was meant to be, I'm going to show you. We're going to take an example from his own streams, and from a clip I found on X that's relatively recent, and we're going to see how much that feeling and that community and all that, we'll see how much that is really important to him. Because, I mean, obviously, if he's saying these things, he must do it, right? Well, let's take a look at this clip.
So, rent is due. Rent is due, so today will be a long stream. Yesterday was a long stream. The day before that was a 13-hour stream. I also would appreciate it if I'm going to do a sleep stream. Here's my method. I'm going to do a sleep stream once a month where I am going to sleep on stream with max ads running, and I need all of you guys to tab me open on your computers with 1% volume and just leave it on the whole night. No ad blocker, nothing, okay? So once a month, I'm doing a sleep stream. I need y'all to just help me out one time and help me pay my rent, okay? I'll be asleep. That's fine. Y'all can go to sleep. Just leave the stream open, 1% volume, let me run max ads for a night and get my rent money. Stop putting that baby doing this. Just come on. Can you guys reason with me here?
Well, I mean, I'm sure that doesn't take away from the essence of streaming, right? Yeah. Basically, defrauding Twitch doesn't do that at all. It's pretty interesting the kind of hoops they will jump through. It's funny that to justify the behavior of himself, but not Neuro being an AI. I mean, it takes away from streaming. Brother, what do you mean it takes away from streaming? What is streaming? It's essentially people being entertained by us. That's all it is entertainment. If people weren't entertained, they wouldn't watch the stream. People are watch Queso because they get to interact with him and because he's entertaining. People watch Asmongold because he's entertaining. People watch, I guess people watch Hassan because he's entertaining. I don't necessarily know the motivations in particular about that audience. Maybe it's just the politics they agree with. I don't know. But, if people were not entertaining, they wouldn't watch them at all. So it's like, I think it's goofy the way he tries to set it up to be like, oh, it's something about community and it's about the feeling you get, with your community. It's human feeling. It's like you're doing a sleep stream where you're not reacting to chat at all, where you're not, you're no emotion, you have no, there's no interaction going on there. It's just to essentially get a bunch of money. That's all it is, to pay your rent. And I heard that Lacey's rent, now this is, of course, just rumors, so I don't know this for certainty because I didn't care enough to actually bother looking up how much he actually pays rent. But I heard that Lacey pays $18,000 for rent. $18,000. By the gods. That is pricey. Oh, man. He kind of reminds me of those people I think it was in China. I think there's also people in the United States that are like this, that are like, they pretend to be wealthy, but they'll spend so much money trying to pretend to be wealthy and keep up the image of them being wealthy that they're broke all the time and they're in debt all the time. I wonder if Lacey is like that, because it sure gives me he kind of gives me the impression. Because I always think one of the most pathetic things you could really do is sit around and beg for money. Come on, guys, help me out, man. Give me some money, man. Come on, donate to me, bro. Like, oh, God. One would think that, maybe he would go out and improve his content in some way, or, go do something, to improve his content and do something interesting that maybe his audience will watch, and therefore he can earn a lot of money. Because look at Asmongold. He's a millionaire, and he has the same house and he lives in the same house that he was born in. No, I don't know if he's born in that house, but he lives in the same house that he's grown up in, forever. So obviously Lacey seems to like the luxurious house, the luxurious places, and I imagine the luxurious cars. It's whatever, but still, I have to admit, it's just. It's just goofy what he says. This is not... And he goes into a little more detail about what he thinks about streaming is and about Neuro in the next clip that I'll show you here.
Shout out to the guy who created this AI. Shout out to him. Something I could not even comprehend because I'm not smart enough to do. He is a genius. He has created a way to not only make money, but also do something that's insane, right? Creating an AI that can do all these things. That part does not scare me. What scares me is all of you fucking sheep. That's what scares me. The fact that there are people writing Twitter threads defending a clanker. That's what scares me. Yes, that I am terrified that there are human beings in the world sitting here defending a robot. Can artificially create something that feels the same thing humans feel. Because that is when that one movie, the iRobot shit starts to happen. That's when robots start running around a town shooting bullets out of their hands. Is when they start plotting against humans. That does terrify me. Yeah, that does terrify me. It does. That does terrify me, yes. Now, in terms of streaming, this AI streaming, I think, in my opinion, if you disagree with me, that's completely fine. I think that it does take away the point of streaming, in my opinion. It does. I think that streaming is a way for a human and in their community, his or her community, to interact, to feel, right? That's what streaming is for me.
So, what he says and what he does is two entirely different things. And I'm not too surprised that he does this, I'm not too surprised. We'll start off with him talking about people defending, writing Twitter threads defending Neuro. I would have to imagine that probably one of the reasons people are defending Neuro is because a few days before they had broken their Twitch record, nobody was hating on them, All of a sudden, as soon as they break the Twitch record, everyone, or a bunch of people anyway, tourists especially, come out and start hating on Neuro and Vital. Vital, I think, unknowingly, but Neuro mainly. because she was the face of, what they'd seen on the articles or the posts on X. Why would people start hating on them all of a sudden? Because they're successful? That's the only reason I could see, is that people were jealous, they were envious, and they didn't like the fact that that Neuro was successful, but they weren't. Sometimes she was, of all the others, the most subbed on Twitch, and I wouldn't doubt a lot of people felt slighted by that because they want success for themselves, not for other people. I mean, it's not an uncommon thing. It's the way people are. They want to compete with each other, and they want to be the ones on top. So it's not strange. So I wouldn't find it also strange for people to defend Neuro, basically saying, hey, you guys are a bunch of tourists, you guys are just jealous, and you're coping and seething on this. Simply because she surpassed something that none of you have been able to do. Which is honestly probably a very accurate statement of that. I mean, a lot of people simply did not like her because of the fact that she's AI. But of course, a lot of them didn't even realize that that Vidal had built Neuro from the ground up. They thought it was like ChatGPT in a model, which is a big difference. Neuro is way better than ChatGPT. Now, and a lot of people, I have to imagine, were probably feeling threatened because how could this AI who someone built, well, of course they probably didn't know that part, but how could this AI be more entertaining than me? I'm a living flesh and blood person. I've got to be more entertaining. I have met human beings that were thought they were very entertaining, and they were some of the most boring people you could imagine. So it's obviously, there's no I mean, there's people who are boring, It's just the way they are, Not everyone's gonna be the best at everything, There are gonna be people who have flaws just like anyone else, But, I think the main reason they donated to Neuro and they watch Neuro is because, well, he's entertaining, I think that's the main reason. Now, he also says, Lacey talks about, says about what streaming is for him. Okay, for him, so I give him his, he's got his opinion. But the way he says that it's about a human and their community and their feeling of their community and how it makes them feel like, I guess that's what he said. I watched that clip a bunch of times, and I'm still not entirely sure I'm phrasing this correctly, but let's just say it like this. So the way he views streaming is... it's funny because when he says that, it doesn't compute with the fact that he did a sleep stream. Like, how does any of what streaming's all about? He treats it like it was some kind of holy trinity that thou shall not misrepresent or do anything different like this. And he, obviously he's done a sleep stream mainly for money, purely to milk Twitch for money, purely. I mean, that's not what streaming is about. Maybe streaming is about milking money to some part. It's about, but the main thing is about entertaining people. That's what streaming's about. Because what are we? What are we as creators? We're dancing monkeys. That's all we are. From the lowest level, streamers to the highest level streamers, we're all just dancing monkeys. It's the same with YouTubers. The highest level YouTuber to the lowest level YouTubers, we're dancing monkeys. We're striving to entertain our audience, And the more we entertain them, the better it is for ourselves, because we get more money. And the more money we get, the more resources we have, to expand our operation and make ourselves a bit more entertaining. It's just nothing anything different, It's the same thing that's been going on for years. But that's basically what we are, People we're basically dancing monkeys. That's all we are, So I think Lacey trying to be like, oh, this Puritan, oh, that's not what streaming's about. Yeah, you can develop a community, but that's not what streaming's about, is the feeling you get in there with emojis, emotes. Like, come on. No, it's just entertaining people. If I entertain you, I've successfully done my job. That's the main thing, We're all dancing monkeys. Now, of course, Lacey puts up this kind of like Puritan front, but he's fake, There's a lot of people that are fake. There's a lot of streamers, there's a lot of YouTubers, there's a lot of people in general that you'll meet in person that are fake. Why are they fake? because they think it will benefit them to some degree. Look at Hollywood. It's filled to the brim with fake people up and down Hollywood, because they think it will benefit them, or they are having a certain mindset of fitting in, will benefit them to some degree, Like if you go to like liberal Hollywood and you're a conservative, I wouldn't doubt if you have these liberal filmmakers, you're probably going to get blacklisted, and it might be the same vice versa, So people adopt fakeness because they believe it will benefit them. That's just human nature. They conform in order so that they might benefit to some degree, So I'm not surprised that he's fake, A lot of people are. A lot of streamers are. But I just basically wanted to talk a little bit about this. And, but yeah, anyway, see ya.